After sharing your life with someone, it's only natural to wonder if they still think about you, whether it's been weeks, months, maybe even years since the breakup. So today we're going to cover 5 of the most common signs that you're still on your ex's mind and what it means about your relationship and potential future together. So first off, you should know that it's very likely that your ex still thinks about you from time to time, regardless of what signs they're showing you. If you have been in a relationship with somebody, they never really leave your mind for good. And it's not like they're going to give you a call every time they think about you, right? They'll probably just keep it to themselves. So just rest assured that your ex is probably still thinking about you. But the real question is, how much do they think about you? And are they still genuinely interested in you? All right, so let's jump into the signs that your ex is still thinking about you, and then we'll talk about what your ex might want. And remember that not all of these signs are going to be obvious, but the more signs that your ex displays, the more likely it is that you're on their mind. So action follows thought, right? So if your ex is contacting you, then you can bet that you're on their mind in a significant way. But is the reason that you're on their mind emotional, or is it maybe something more pedestrian? So for example, if your ex sends you a message asking for the money that you owe them or to give them back the sweater that you borrowed, that doesn't really necessarily mean anything good for your chances with them. The real sign that you're on their mind is when they reach out to you just to chat and catch up. Or even better, if it seems like they're making up a reason to talk to you. So if they tell you some unbelievable story or they just happen to need your advice with something that they never used to care about, well, you can bet that they're thinking about you a lot. So for example, I had a client who was really into restoring vintage cars, and his ex never showed any interest in his hobby, saying that it was, a waste of time. Well, guess who just happened to need his help fixing up an old Mustang just a few short weeks after the breakup? And I'm sure I don't have to tell you that the two of them did end up getting back together, in part probably because of that seemingly innocuous text. So if your ex reaches out and you find yourself asking, why are they contacting me? Or why do they keep texting me even though the conversation has come to a natural endpoint? Well, then you can bet that you're still on their mind and probably in a major way. But of course, this one is really obvious, and the rest of the signs on this list are going to be a lot more subtle. All right, so this one is a bit tricky, but once you notice it, it's very clearly a sign of your ex's interest. The friends that you and your ex share can really be a powerful point of connection for the two of you. Now, this can create drama, of course, but it can also help you get a sense of what your ex is thinking about. So obviously, if you hear that your ex is checking up on you through mutual friends, then that is a major indicator that they are still thinking about you. So maybe they're asking if you're seeing anyone or just wondering how you're feeling after the breakup. But a more subtle indicator is that your friends will start updating you on your ex without you asking. Now, the thinking goes like this, most of the time, your mutual friends will avoid the topic of your ex. They know that the breakup is a touchy subject, and they don't want to cause drama or, even worse, get in the middle of things. So if they are bringing up your ex, then there's almost always a reason. It could be that your ex has expressed interest in you, regret about the breakup, or even a desire to get back together with you. And so your mutual friend is sort of playing matchmaker, trying to gently coax you into getting back together. Or it could be that your ex has just been talking about you, and so your mutual friend thinks that the two of you are on good terms, and so you'd want to know what they've been up to. But whatever the specifics, it's a sign of connection between you and your ex, and that's a solid indicator that you are on their mind right now. Since you can't read your ex's mind, you'd need to go off how they're treating you, and more importantly, how they're living their life. So if your ex has abstained from dating or making any new connections since the breakup, then that is a good sign that they are still stuck on you. I mean, when an attractive person with lots to offer and an open heart refuses to connect with others, there's always a reason. And often it comes down to the fact that they're still thinking about you, and they're hoping that sooner or later, the two of you will get back together. Now, of course, if you seriously hurt them in the relationship or they're going through some other intense issues in their life, then obviously the sign is going to be less relevant. But otherwise, you have to ask yourself why they're abstaining. Then this isn't necessarily, just about their dating life. Being stuck on someone can have you turning down opportunities at work, refusing to change your living situation, just otherwise staying static in the hopes of reconnecting with the person you love. Now, obviously, this isn't logical or healthy behavior, but it's driven by subconscious cues that you and your ex probably aren't fully aware of. And so it's going to shape their actions without them even knowing. Now, of course, social media is another point of connection between two exes. Now, I'm not saying that, your ex merely following you on social media is a sign that they're thinking about you, because that's obviously pretty common practice these days. But if your ex is following you on multiple different apps, watching all your stories before anyone else, and even liking and commenting on your posts, of course you can bet that they are still thinking about you a fair bit. Often an ex will unfollow you or even block you early on just to avoid being triggered by the sight of you while they're processing the breakup. But it's also common for them to unblock and follow you again after some time has passed. And that, of course, is another clear sign that you're on their mind. And in this case, they want you to know that they're thinking about you, or they wouldn't take that step. Remember, if your ex is thinking about you, they're hyper aware of how you perceive them, so they'll know if they're sending you a signal, even a subtle one. And that means that when you get the sense that they're interested, you can bet that that is exactly what they were going for. Of course, it's not always easy to know how your ex feels when you don't take the entire situation into account. And that is exactly why I created my free quiz tool. Just answer a few quick questions, and based on your answers, the quiz will tell you your likelihood of winning back your ex. It's completely free. It only takes 5 minutes, and it can give you all of the answers that you're looking for. So again, take it now at breakupbrad.com/quiz. Let me know how you scored in the comments here, and I'll tell you what you should do next. Now, plenty of people see that their ex is showing some of these signs, and they get really excited. They think, great, this means my ex loves me and wants me back. And so they'll go running back to their ex and ask them for another chance. And then they come crying to me when they get rejected. So don't let this happen to you, because the truth is that just because your ex is still thinking about you doesn't mean that they're ready to forget everything that happened and pick up right where you left off. It's still just hypothetical to your ex, at least in most cases. They're fantasizing about all the good things that you brought into the relationship, but they're not really considering all the issues that the two of you had. And it's so easy to do this after we've lost somebody. We fixate on the things that we miss rather than seeing the whole picture. It's a very human reaction to heartbreak. So be aware of this moving forward. It's your job to keep your ex's romantic attachment to you alive and avoid bringing in all the boring, dramatic, the real life stuff that until your connection is actually stronger and more secure. Think of it like you're trying to woo a new person for the first time. You don't start out the first date by sharing your, deepest trauma, your financial issues, and your insecurities. You don't tell them you love them after 2 days and then ask them to commit to you forever. You need to really treat your ex the same way. Don't treat them how you have been, or you're going to recreate the toxic dynamic that led to your breakup in the first place. So, seduce them like you just met. Be funny, be fun. Ask them questions and be attentive. See them with fresh eyes, essentially. But above all else, take it slowly and be gentle with them when trying to reconnect. Because the memory they have of you is going to be fragile, and you can easily disrupt it by putting a lot of pressure on them or by bringing up the past and starting conflict. So show them that the reason they're thinking about you is that you really are the person who can make them feel happy and secure for the long haul. And if you can do that, they're going to be back in your arms in no time. All right, that's it for this one, guys. I hope that you learn to recognize and respond to your ex's signs of interest. Remember to be subtle and reel them in gently, and it will work out. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Hope you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out. And while you're at it, check out some of my other videos below. Best of luck. See you next time.